I've spent a lot of time in the past explaining how an altered scale or a melodic minor scale colors a dominant chord in what's called an alt fashion. It has all the alterations that are possible. Flat 5, sharp 5, flat 9, sharp 9. And that is one thing I've spent a lot of time studying myself, but I just wanted to pass along a couple of other ways that you can you can alter the tone, the sound of a dominant chord in jazz, especially in the context of 2-5-1s from a 2-chord minor, which would be in one case we're going to do A minor to G, and in another case we're going to do C minor. What did I just say? A minor to D to G, and then D minor to G to C. 2-5-1s in C, 2-5-1 in G, no matter what I said. The two scalar sounds that work great and are good, nice alterations in jazz for a dominant chord are a diminished scale, which is whole step. I'm starting on an F sharp. Whole step, half step, 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 whole step. And so that's what's called a symmetrical scale because it just repeats over and over again. The other scale that's really cool is a whole tone scale. Whole tone, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step. But those are the note sets, but I'm going to show you a cool shape, a couple of cool shapes for each, well, one cool shape for the whole tone scale and two little shapes that interconnect for the diminished scale. And I'll show them to you in two different keys, or two different 2-5-1s, one with the 2-5-2-5-1 in G, and one with the 2 in C. The pretty 5 chords, I'll just show you in the 2-5-1 in C. This is D minor 11 to G9 or G13. Those are both real pretty chords because they contain notes within the parent scale of the key that it's in. This G7 is a parent scale of C major. So it has nice 6-9, 9-6. It's kind of a sound to it. But it's basically a C major scale. The 2 is technically D Dorian, but it's really just the note set of C major. The 5 is technically G Mixolydian, but you'll notice it's the same note set. It's the context of the harmony. So those notes are all basically a C major scale. The reason we alter the 5 chord is because it creates tension going back to the 1 chord. It's a tension release type of a thing. A major scale over itself doesn't create that much tension. It's very melodic and pretty sound. A consonant sound to your chords and a consonant sound to your linear improv or whatever you're using it for. But the altered dominant chords, we're not talking about an alt. We're not talking about a dominant alt chord here. We're talking about a dominant chord that is colored by either a diminished scale or a whole tone scale. Here's the first. I'll start off with the G major 2-5-1 because that's probably very recognizable to most of you. Pretty chords. But we're going to turn the 5 chord, in this first case, while I'll explain the diminished scale, we're going to turn it into a D7 flat 9. It's actually got more altered notes in it, which I'll show you here. But basically, people think of a diminished scale over the D sound to have a flat 9 sound. It's very much the same kind of sound that you get when you're going to a minor chord. But anyway, so there's your D, 9. This is your 3rd, 7, 9, 5. If we drop the 2nd string down a half step, down to, that's a D7 flat 9, or the diminished sound over a D7 chord. Here's the note set of the diminished. I'm starting on an F sharp. And I'm not going to explain the theory of half whole or whole half. Basically, it's an E flat diminished, or I mean a half step up from the chord name, diminished over the 5 chord. But I always look at it as just diminished. It just depends on what note you start and finish on. So here's the note set. F sharp, whole step up, half step up, 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 whole step up, half step up. Hear that sound? And here's how it sounds in a context of a 2-5-1. Whoops. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Now, that's if you play the whole scale. I'm going to show you how to play kind of a mixed single string and melodic style. It's kind of mixed. Single string on the lower strings, more melodic on the higher strings. And I'll show you 2 positions of how to use these diminished shapes to color a 5 chord. There's a lot of applications for these diminished shapes, by the way. I'm just showing it in the context of a 5 chord. So here's one. There's your D7, D9 with a flat, D7 with a flat 9. Here's the first shape. F sharp. Here's your melodic part. There's your single string part. Now, for a lot of you who haven't seen my videos before, I play things on the lower strings in roll patterns, and a lot of the strings in roll patterns, because it fits into my Scruggs style, traditional bluegrass, whatever style. I can play them all with the same right hand kind of fingerings. I don't play. I play. So I'm rolling rather than playing back and forth. You can do this any way you want. Thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, middle, whatever you want. So a lot of ways of doing it. Anyway, on the lower string, so here's the shape that you can use. So that's a cool shape, and listen to how that works. So that's kind of cool. And here's another one. What we do is we go from the F sharp up to here to the G sharp and play. So. Okay, so there's that one that works. So now the cool thing is these repeat because it's a symmetrical scale forever. same note set, thus all the same coloration of this 5 chord. Pretty cool, huh? So that's in G major 251. Let me do the same thing real quickly in D minor, in C major 251. D minor to G to C major 7. So here's your D minor 11. Now we're going to turn that the next chord into a G7 flat 9. Recognize that same shape from the other one that we're pretty cool. So yeah, you see how that works. That's how I actually play the G7 flat 9 chord. That works cool there, right? All right, so now again the diminished scale has several different notes in it that alter that chord. Again, it's the flat 9, sharp 9, and flat 5. So the only one really missing is that sharp 5, right? And that's in a fully altered scale, or around the melodic minor studies that I've done before. But that sharp 5 has a really cool tone to it. Now let's go to the other symmetrical scale, which is a whole tone scale. In this case, I'm going to go back to the G major 251. Now, the coloration here is, rather than being a flat 9 or anything else, the whole tone scale is going to color it as a sharp 5 chord, no other alterations. And that sharp 5, remember, is the one that's missing out of the diminished scale. So here's the scale. There's your D, here's your A minor, and there's your D. And remember, a whole tone scale is just whole tone, whole tone, whole tone. So again, it's a symmetrical scale. And if you understand what that means, you can go. Those are all the same note set. They color the chord the same way. Now in this case, whoops, I'm going to play a the A minor, and then I'm going to play the D7. I made a misstatement. The sharp 5, the whole tone scale also colors the flat 5. So it's sharp 5 and flat 5. It's just not a coloration of either of the 9s. The 9 is natural in it. So now there's your 5. Again, 3, 7, 9, 5. I'm going to flatten that to that sound, and then we're going to play the whole tone sound over it. So that's a cool sound. But again, I'm playing the scale. Now I'm going to give you a shape to correspond with that. So we've got and these notes are sorry. And again, because it's symmetrical, all the same note set basically. So here's that sound: 2, A minor, so again. Really pretty. Okay, so that's the G one. Now, because the symmetrical, the whole tone symmetrical scale is just whole tones, there's just really one shape that I'm showing you here. That doesn't mean there aren't others. I'm just saying this is the one I'm showing you. Part, single string. your melodic part. So that's kind of cool. So now let's go to the key of C251, same D minor, and then this time we're going to go down, and I'm going to show you that's a G13, but if you flatten the 13, that's a sharp 5. So here's what it sounds like if I'm going to play the straight G chord, and there's your whole tone sound. So we've got 2, 2, and here, same shapes that we used before, but just related to this 5 chord. Hear how that works? And you can do all those work great, and you resolve to a nice. So there you go. Whole tone scale and symmetrical diminished scale, whether you're thinking of it as a half whole diminished or a whole half diminished, it doesn't matter as long as you're picking the right notes around the particular 5 chord that you're using. Diminished alters the flat 9, the sharp 9, and the flat 5. Whole tone alters the flat 5 and the sharp 5. They both have very unique sounds, and they're cool. And you can change them up if you want to play, you know, one of each of them over the 5 chord. It's still a nice alteration, and actually that becomes more sort of like an altered scale sound. So here's one example of that. 2. So here's your 2. I'm going to this 5 chord, and then we're going to alter that 5 with a diminished or whole tone. And here's the pretty 13 chord. There's the sharp 5, and there's the flat 9. So you could play flat 9, and then alter it with the sharp 5 sound. And you've got both sounds within that alteration, which sometimes that's the goal. You want to alter up that 5 chord and come up with pretty licks that work around that. So I hope that's helpful. Maybe it's confusing, but it's just something I haven't covered very much, and I thought that I'd throw that in. All right, bye.